Consent. Dude, that Chloe Fineman video of her and it's like she's so good at impressions because it's the impression that you don't know that that's what it is, you know?
Exactly. Chloe Fineman, she is so good. Like, I just didn't know how, when you sent me the Twitter recording of it, or her Twitter video, I just saw the thumbnail and I was like, I just don't know how a Nicole Kidman impression is gonna go. And she just knew what idiosyncrasies to pinpoint, and it is so right on, you know? Like,
She was like,
and she was like, no, like I can't even do it because I'm terrible at it. But
and then whoever he was like, and I was watching Moulin Rouge, and she was like, never thought I'd die.
he was great. I don't know really what Keith Urban
I
sounds
don't
like,
either, but
and
it was funny.
it was funny, and I think he made the right choice because he played Keith Urban almost like her gay ass husband,
Yes.
being like, "Oh, darling, you're so fabulous, darling." Like, it was such the right choice, especially because most people don't know. We don't have Keith Urban in our head, at least in America,
Right.
we don't. So just kind of making a choice that's funny, I think, was the right way to do it. It was funny.
It was so good.
And she didn't say a lot during that thing, during at least the first half of it.
Yeah.
Like, it was just so
Did you hit record? I didn't.
I did hit record, which we could keep that in, like just saying nice stuff about.
No, I know, but I didn't consent.
It says recording.
Wow.
Wow, you just got Zoom raped. No, I'm just kidding. That's so bad.
And that's our opening line. Okay, are you ready?
And it's just me doing this afterwards.
Sometimes I want to like, there's screenshots I want to use so much, but I'm like, I don't want you to be like, you don't use hot screenshots of me, because on the last one, the promo, when you're like, and then I'd be in the mirror and I'd be like, not today, Satan, and your face is like.
If I'm making a funny face on purpose, you can use that screenshot. Okay. But not if I'm just like,
you're just like, yeah.
Like, if I'm just like that because I'm like doing something, just don't use that. I hate that. Because you did have a thing of like always using bad shots of me.
I try to get one like we're usually smiling or just like, I don't know.
I want you to always be using shots of this, like me doing this, like like that. You know, that's a good shot.
Well, you know what we need to start doing though? We need to then pose our screenshots before, like, now, so that I have them, you know?
Oh yeah, so it looks like,
yeah.
Like, yeah. They officially sent me the Zoom link for Monday's meeting with Avalon.
So exciting.
I'm so excited. I really hope something comes of it. I'll summon the forces of darkness if nothing does.
Okay.
Anyways.
Okay, I'm starting now. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to Living with Jonathan
and Katy.
Hello, how are you doing, Katy?
I'm good. I just sent my cat skeleton to live with its dad. So unfortunately, I'm dealing with the grief of that, but I think it's in a better place.
Davinia,
yes.
Davinia,
my cat skeleton.
Wow. Which, that does sound like a name from like the 1920s or 30s, right?
It's a little ghost girl name.
Davinia. Yeah, but it's also kind of hot, you know?
It's like a fun flapper. It's very much the kind of name where like, you know, when you see a kid drawing a creepy picture and then you're like, who's that? And then they're like, Davinia. And you're like, and who's that? And she's like, she speaks to me at night. I don't know why they're British.
That's Davinia. That's Davinia. And then the mom's like, honey, who's Davinia?
How are you?
I'm okay. I was going to do a Zoom comedy show right before this. Otherwise, we could have done this earlier, but I just didn't want to like change your schedule, so I just kept it at the same time. But I didn't do the Zoom comedy show. It was a gay comedy show because I pretty much only do gay Zoom comedy shows. There's like one, but the booker's very nice. He like books shows and stuff like that, but he forgot to tell the comedians until an hour before the show that we had to be clean and there couldn't be anything sexual in the comedy. And you just can't wait an hour before the show to tell me that, which...
Because you already had a boner.
I already have my boner full, rock hard, ready to show, you know? No, but the thing about it is, you know, he was paying for the show. It wasn't that much, but it was something, you know? But he didn't make it clean because he's done shows before that where there's no restriction. It's that the organization that had him like organize and book the show wanted it to be clean, but it was like a gay thing and it was like a gay fundraiser, and it was all 18 and up. So I just don't understand why gay stand-up shows 18 and up are clean. I just don't understand
Was
that.
it gay Christians? Was it a gay church group? You can
I
tell
don't
me.
I don't think so. Maybe it was. Maybe that's what it is. Because you know how sometimes you don't know an organization is religious until you like go deep into their like website and you're like, oh, okay, they have like a Bible verse at the bottom or something, you know?
Yeah.
So I didn't do it, and not because I couldn't do it, because I've done many clean shows where I had to do 10 minutes of clean material, and I've done them. I've gotten laughs. I've been successful at it. But the thing about it is that's like not fulfilling to me. Like I usually have to dig up like old clean jokes from 8 years ago, and also like I'll do that for like a college showcase because there's like incentive. I guess you're gonna get like hopefully a lot of bookings and jobs, and you're getting paid like real money for that. Um, but for just like a regular rinky dink show, which there's no shade to that, but this goes for Zoom shows or like bar shows. If I'm not really getting paid or I'm only getting paid like $50, like I do want to do what I want to do. I don't want to be restricted. To me, that's not fulfilling because that's just me logging on to Zoom and doing 8-year-old jokes for 10 minutes and literally phoning it in. And I'm like, what am I doing this for? You know
Yeah.
what I'm
What
saying?
I'm hearing is that you're a patriot and that's your freedom and somebody tried to take it away.
No, and it's not the booker's fault. He's a perfectly nice man. It's the organization's fault who made that rule. But here's the thing, and this is what I've talked about before. I really don't like it when people are like, "Oh, if you can't work clean, then you're not a real blah blah blah." And it's like
Yeah.
most clean comics. Look, if you can do clean and dirty, which most comics can do clean and dirty, but the comics who just do clean, they don't ever do dirty. So I find it really odd when they think that they're better comics when they don't even do dirty material, which there's this notion that dirty material, like sexual material, is easier because of the trigger words, or like race stuff is easier because of trigger words, whatever. And it's like that's so not true. Like me and you know, like an audience will not laugh at you if you're just like up there being like her pussy stank. Like they're
Yeah.
not gonna laugh at you. Like you have to still like have a comedic angle, a point of view, like a point to what you're talking about, you know. And also like most clean comics, they are clean because they're naturally interested in like cleaner material. Like they go to the grocery store and they think of jokes. I don't
Yeah.
give a fuck about that. Like I think of jokes.
You do
uh
your best writing in bed.
exactly. during, during my masturbation sessions and my fucking session. No. But also here's another thing, and this is the last thing I have to say. I do find it really odd when gay shows or queer shows, LGBTQ shows have this rule of not being sexual. The reason that is because we are persecuted because of our sexual orientation. So to be a gay comic and talk about sex on stage is and always has been a risk and an act of protest. Okay? Because for a straight comic, it's you can do sexual material. I love that. That's great. But it is your sex is accepted society across the world. So it's something that most people in every room is going to relate and understand to. But as a gay comic or a lesbian or bisexual comic, or especially a trans comic, you're doing sexual material or gender material. Um, you have to make that funny in spite of most people in the room not relating to what you're saying. You know,
Yeah.
it's and also it's an act of protest because people do not want you to talk about your sexual life as a queer person because they think it's gross. They want it kept under the rug, and that's the whole part of like not accepting people but tolerating people. Like that whole thing of I don't mind gays, but why do they have to parade naked in the street? Why do they have to make it my business? And it's like because we get to also be sexual people just like you guys get to. How many like fucking sex scenes do we see of straight people in every fucking Oscar winning movie? Like all the time. But a gay comic talks about sex and suddenly he's like using that as a crutch. Like that's just not true. Like it's just not true. It's harder to do that type of material because most people will not like you when you open up with that type of topic. You have to make them like you. You know, you don't have the luxury of being a straight comic where everyone has your similar experience and everyone kind of is on the same page with you. You know, you don't have that relatability. So I
That's
do
very
think
true. And that's why I have always been very impressed when you just do your like regular standard material at like the Chatterbox and Covino, where it's all like straight Latino construction workers.
yeah.
And you are such a good comic that you get them to laugh at stuff that they normally would be like freaking out about.
Of course, that type of stuff in a conversation that would weird them the fuck out if like one of their work like friends who worked with them at Chili's like started to like talk honestly about how they feel about their sex life or romance or dating. And this is another thing. A lot of times people will call what I do dirty. And then when you actually look what I was talking about, it was about my relationship. It was about dating.
Yeah.
But if it was a straight comic do it, that's not dirty. It's about romance. It's about their girlfriend. It's about their wife, you know? Yet it's
Yeah.
not like, it's just such a double standard. It's just not fair.
People hear like what they want to hear. Like the funniest comment on Chris's Comedy Central tape, the 7-minute one, is this guy needs to stop talking about being Mexican. He never once ever even says he's Mexican. Never
Right.
says anything.
It's just Chris is so visibly and obviously Mexican that dude is racist, and it's just like, look, I just hate that this Mexican's talking. That's basically what that guy meant.
Like, yeah, literally. I was like, what are you talking about?
Dude, the same thing happened to me about being gay. I think Katy, it was the show that me and you, remember me and you, it was when my abuelito was dying, remember? And we drove up from Hollywood all the way to San Luis Obispo to do that show. I remember we each did like, I think you did like 20 minutes and I did 30 minutes. And I not once during that set talked about gay sex. I talked about gay dating. I talked about looking for a boyfriend. I talked about being Mexican. I talked about my Chola sisters shooting people, getting shot in the 90s. After the show, and I know, because I talk about gay sex a lot, and I remember getting off stage being like, I'm proud of myself. I didn't talk about sex, and I still got to like do my thing. And they didn't make me be clean. I just decided to do it because I wanted to for that set. These two straight white dudes came up to me afterwards and they're like, oh, dude, you're so funny. I love the butt fucking stuff. And I'm like, literally never talked about butt fucking during this entire half-hour set. Yet, because I'm gay and talking about my gay life, it's looked at to that as them as butt fucking material, sexual material. You know what I mean? That's why it bugs me when gay shows are like clean. Like, I understand if there's going to be kids there, but if it's an 18 and up show, and you're putting restrictions on the topics, I'm like, fuck that. Like, I just don't agree with it, you know? So I told the booker, who's very nice, when you're booking a show that has no restrictions, I'd love to be considered for that, but I don't think I'd be a fit for this. So I decided not to do it because I was just looking at my material and I had stuff that I really want to work on. I had like 10 minutes of stuff I want to work on, but it all had something to do with something sexual or something like that would be seen as dirty. Yeah. And I was just like, no, I just see no point in doing stuff from 8 years ago just because it's clean. That doesn't help me in any way. You know, now if I was getting paid real money, that'd be different. If I was getting paid like $1,200, I'd do whatever, you know. But
you're gonna be like $12. I mean, sure.
I mean, yeah. Which honestly, for most LA shows, $12 is not bad.
That's a lot. What's the like most awkward crowd you've ever played to, or like had to be straight? I'm always afraid that like if there's restrictions, like I've done a handful of college gigs where you have to like sign the contract, and they are like, you can't say this, you can't do this, X, Y, and Z. And like I don't even have any of that stuff in my act, but I always am afraid I'm just gonna say like just blurt it out, just like because, you know.
Just because it's that whole.
I'll be like, I hate women. I'm like, I don't know. Sorry.
I hate all bitches. Like that's what you said. No,
because I was performing at this LGBT feminist center, and so they were like, "You cannot say anything about anybody." And then I was like second guessing, like, "Oh, I don't, you know."
What if they said that, Katy? You cannot say anything bad about anybody, and the first thing you say, "So my best friend's a faggot." That would actually be the only case in which I would be fine with you saying that. Like that is hilarious. No, the most awkward show, and I actually feel a lot of shame about what I did during this show. We drove deep into the woods of Amboy, Washington, which was like the forest up there, and it was like Boys Don't Cry town. It was like,
oh no,
this was not near Seattle. This was like they were much more Idaho, Wyoming than they were.
It's rural.
Like, yeah, very.
It's forest,
rural.
which is
No, it all plaid. literally everyone had a Southern accent, even though we're in Washington.
Yeah.
But I think it's because they all descend from like pioneer people. So that culture, like, it just carries down. And they looked, when I walked in that bar, they looked at me based on how I look. This is how white that place was. They immediately knew that I was an outsider based on the way I looked, which is crazy, right? That's how white and like homogenous this place is, that they would look at me and think that. So I immediately felt not welcome. And I had to host a show where the very funny comic Simon Gibson had to do half an hour. I had to do 15 minutes up top. And then Adam Posse, who from Portland, a hilarious comic, had to do 45 minutes after Simon. And he is this big brown Polynesian dude. And I was like scared for him, you know? But
Yeah.
apparently he had performed here before and was like, well, whatever, you know? So I was on stage. The audience is like so hostile. And I decide I am just not comfortable talking about being Mexican and I'm not comfortable talking about being gay. So I didn't mention either. I didn't say I'm white and straight, but I just didn't mention either. Tried to do material for the first 5 minutes. They were dead silent. And I just started to riff about like the onion rings that they were eating. And I got some chuckles and I like scraped my way through the first 15 minutes of the set with like a few chuckles and like interviewing the crowd and a few things that got a little bit of a laugh, that where they were like, he's not that funny, but he's not terrible, right? So I scraped through the first 15 minutes, got off stage, was just like, thank you that I'm survived that. And I feel shameful because I should have just been myself. I should have just been like, you know, ¿Qué pasa, gringos? What's up? I'm about to lick your little booty holes. Like, I should have just done that because that's the more like fuck you thing to do. But I was just too scared, and I was a younger comic at the time.
But there's like a difference between like I'm uncomfortable and I'm like concerned for my safety, and in a place like that, like
I was
I think
concerned.
that's the right choice. It would have been hilarious though if you went up and like were like more flamboyant, but you were like, y'all know what it's like dating these ladies out here. Like,
That would have
and
been
then
hilarious.
cut to, I don't know, you're actually like a Christian comic who's like very successful and nobody knows you're
Right.
gay or Latino.
And you think it's hilarious. You're like, this guy's brilliant. He's so meta. No, he's just deep in the closet. No, but you know why I know what I did was wrong? Adam Posse got up there and literally was like, I love being an amboy. Y'all are so fucking racist. And like did 45 minutes and murdered with them, even though they all are voting against his rights. He murdered with these people because he was so fuck you, unapologetically like big brown Polynesian fat dude from like little hipster Portland. He was so himself and so funny. That was what that taught me a lesson of, that's what you need to do, because it paid off for him. And even if it didn't pay off for him, like let's say he just didn't do well, at least he would have left there being like, I was authentically me and I didn't compromise for anyone. And so I promised myself to always do that no matter what since then. And Simon, he oof, he bombed too, just like me. And but he had to do even longer. He had to do twice the amount of time as me. And even though he was like, he's also like a straight white dude, they just looked at him and he was wearing like boat shoes and magenta pants, and it was what he was wearing, where they were like, you are not one of us.
Yeah.
And he just like bombed. They hated him. But they liked Adam because Adam was like, he was like Ty Rivera the place, like, you will like me or I will kill you. Like that's literally what he did.
Yeah, but I think the difference there too though is like if he was, and I'm presuming like because you said he was like big Polynesian brown, like if you're like physically imposing, you can get away with saying so much more. Like Guy Branum could say anything he wanted in that room because he is the biggest guy in the room.
Yes, but I do agree, like the size thing does make a difference. Guy's very big. Adam is very big. Very big. He's a big Polynesian dude.
Yeah, they're like they're physically imposing, so men don't feel as like they can't say as much. I think that is a thing.
But there's still a danger because
True.
They can still fucking jump you. Even a big dude, if they're jumped by a lot of smaller dudes, they can still fucking jump you and kill you. You know?
Yeah.
And this was a bar in the forest, Katy. It was like in the middle of nowhere. We were just surrounded by trees. I was like, this is exactly where you get murdered. And it was raining. I was like, oh God, it was just scary as fuck. Like I performed to nicer bars in Oklahoma, and I've been to Oklahoma to do comedy 3 times.
Yeah.
you know?
But I do think that there is a thing. I mean, we also all had those moments of like shame. I have probably like 500. No, like the shows I regret the most. I did have a problem, and I want to say I used to when I started out, but no, like this happened like a year or two ago. Like I have a problem. Or another reason I'm afraid, like if I'm on contract to not say something, that I'll say it. That like, and I think I am like, I'm a very like thoughtful, compassionate, empathetic person, and I usually do read the room, but like
It's so
I'm
funny how
such a good
thoughtful.
person. I'm such a good person, you guys. I'm such an ally. You should be so grateful. No, but I think I like usually am like thoughtful and like considerate, but like, oh God, the first time I did this recovery room, and it was like a very hardcore recovery center where people were living and all that stuff. And like, I didn't realize how much like faith gets you through those things. Mm-hmm. And so I like my whole half that act, I don't know why, I was just like talking shit on Christians and Jesus and how everyone who believes in Jesus is so stupid. And like, it was so bad. Like, I was like, why is this bombing right now? And it was like people who were like, literally, God is the only thing that gets me through this, you know?
Yeah. You should have told them, look, it's not my fault that you were addicted to heroin, okay? Because Jesus still ain't real, y'all. And that's the truth.
No, I devil in you. That, and then also doing a Marine fundraiser, and then all my material was about how I would love to see my family members die. And it was Christmas time. And again, I was like, why don't they like this?
Oh my God.
I was like, oh, it's because it's their biggest fear. So I feel like whatever, I should definitely not say it's all is what I end up saying.
One of the weirdest shows, and I told you about this, okay, I had two early on in stand-up, and I've said this before, I could not do gay shows. Gay people didn't like me. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it was. It was very hard. And I think because gay men, they've gotten better in the past 10 years, but like even in the early 2010s, it was hard to get gay audiences to like you because they usually wanted a woman to perform or a drag queen, right? But when they see other gay men that like reflect themselves and their experience, because we're not used to seeing ourselves, they get very tight. Like, oh, is this person going to represent us well, or is they going to be a fool? Like, what are they going to be a stereotype? So I just was always having a lot of trouble in gay crowds. And I remember I bombed hard at Hamburger Mary's in West Hollywood in like 2013. But eventually I just kept doing gay shows. And finally I was able to like start to do well. Now gay shows are the funnest shows for me to do. But at the beginning, because I came up in the straight comedy scene, the like mainstream comedy scene, I didn't come up in like a gay scene, you know?
You're like, I came up in the straights. Like
I came up in the straights. No, but it's true. It's kind of like, there was two different scenes. But then this was more recently. This was like in 2018. I did a Latino show, which was called at the time a Latinx show, okay, at UCB Sunset. And it was the weirdest set I've ever had. So I go up, I do just like material that has nothing to do about being gay or Latino. They are not there for it. They're like, we don't like this, right? Although I did have to follow a woman who, it was a variety show. So they had her open a show with her 15-minute story about how she was raped as she was on her journey crossing the border. So that was a harrowing story. And then they were like, and here's a comic, you know, and then I had to come out and be like, you know, it was terrible. So it could have been that. It could have been that they were just like, yeah, so we're still focused on her tragic rape. You know,
that's horrifying.
It was horrifying, and she told a good story, but it was a dramatic story, and it was, you know, it was something that maybe a comic shouldn't follow. It maybe should have been later in the show, you know. But
that's a good closer, I think.
But then, as soon as I started to talk about being Latino, literally as soon as I started to talk about being Latino, I went from bombing to killing, big, huge laughs. Every joke, and I did that. So the first like 5 minutes bombing, the second 5 minutes killing. Literally, I did my like I don't look Latino joke or whatever. Big laugh from then on. I was just like killing, right? Then I go from my Latino stuff to talking about being gay and Latino and how my sisters reacted to that. Dead bomb again. So because there's a 15-minute set. So then the last 5 minutes was dead bombing again, and I was like, what is this crowd? Like, I dead bombing at first, then killing, And then suddenly, as soon as I mentioned like being gay, they were like, it wasn't just like my jokes started to do worse. It was like my jokes just lost power, and I just don't know what it was. And I recorded the set and I was like, I seem to be around the same energy that I usually perform at. And I just don't know. And I just thought it was ironic that they build the show as a Latinx show, because Latinx, the whole point of that is supposed to be like inclusive of all sexual and gender identities of Latinos. And I'm just like, yeah, that wasn't really a Latinx show. That was just a Latino show. They weren't
Were
really like,
they like cool with other people, comics, or was it just a whack crowd?
uh, I don't know, because no, they seem to be good with there was a comic who followed me who they liked, who was like a straight Latino dude who was just talking about being like a Latino dad and his kids or whatever. They liked him. He wasn't killing, but he did better than me for sure. But then they also laughed at this sketch group who opened the show before the storyteller. And they weren't laughing at them, but then that sketch group wasn't that funny. So I don't know. It was just a weird crowd, I would have to say. And it was also a weirdly done show. And as a comic, you kind of want to blame yourself. Like, I just
Yeah.
wasn't good enough or whatever. But sometimes you're just like, the audience is so weird with you. Like, if I had just bombed all the way through, I'd be like, well, maybe it was my energy, maybe it was me. But to just like have these like periods of the set where you go from dead bombing to straight up killing is just so odd to me, where I just don't know what to think. Very strangely, after that show, I got a flood of gay Latino Instagram followers, which a flood for me is like 10.
Yeah.
And they all messaged me like individually, being like, "Hey, I loved you on that show." And I was like, "How did you
So
like me?
weird.
How did you
Yeah.
like me on that show? Like, only like the middle part was good, and then the two ends were shit." So it's just so weird. So I honestly think I blame the crowd, But you know what it was? I think even though there was a lot of young Latinos in the crowd, they were there with their families. A lot of
So
them were
that's
there
why
with like,
I was gonna say, are they like out, or do they feel comfortable laughing?
yeah, I think maybe it's because they were there with their parents and stuff like that, that they didn't like any sexual material, and they didn't like any, like, definitely not gay material. They I think for the first 5 minutes were recovering from the rape story. So I was gonna bomb no matter what, because it's like you have to bomb for the first 5 minutes to change the energy. And then I think once I went into the Latino stuff, they were like, "Yeah, we got it rolling." And then when I went to the gay stuff, they were like, "Oh no, shit, no."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah, well then that's not my fault."
I've been trying to think. I never blame the crowd. I always blame my father, but
That's hilarious.
um I was trying to think of like what are the most awkward things I've ever had to follow. I
You've had a
feel like
lot of good stories. There's some good
I'm trying to
drama
think of
stories
like,
with you.
and now I'm thinking, I mean, I just feel like so many times it's like actual mental illness, like full on like a psychotic break that I have to follow,
Yes.
or like some like fight, or some like awkward, like I'm so just like, and sometimes I do well, sometimes I don't. I hate it. I'm trying to think of like, I feel like it's funny, we're like reminiscing about stand-up since we
No, it's
haven't
true.
done it for so long.
No, and what I meant by you have good stories is you usually do well, but when you do encounter a really weird show or a very bad show, I feel like you do have a crazy story about why that particular show went awry. And it does always involve a screaming drunk woman, a
Yeah.
screaming drunk man, someone on stage who is screaming and drunk.
Yeah.
It's like always someone who is losing their shit. And it always takes place in Orange County or like San Diego.
9 out of 10 times. Or except for I think my worst show, okay, because I think I've only cried after stand up twice, which is amazing. I can't believe I don't make more people cry. But I no, it was the night Trump won, because I did a show that night, and it was like literally, I just remember there was like a man in the front row in like full camo with like an America hat, like just, it was like I was in like the belly of the beast, and they fucking hated, like I've never felt people hate me so much.
Yeah.
Other than again my dad, but like it was like so memorable, and I like cried. I mean, probably for several reasons, but I remember it because I was like, they hate me.
Yeah. Because to them, you represented Hillary.
Yeah, I was Hillary.
You were Hillary.
I was in a pantsuit.
That night that Trump got elected, me and very funny comic Marlena Rodriguez, and she's a writer too, we were like gonna go to John Early and Kate Berlant's show at the New Beverly in West Hollywood because Molly Shannon was gonna be a guest. And so it was like John dressed up as Hillary Clinton. They were all live watching the election results while doing performances and stuff. Kate as I don't think she dressed up, but I'm not sure. Molly as just Molly. And then Father John Misty, who got up and did something. And I know like they're probably friends with him, but my God, like don't stop letting like hot musician dudes try to do stand up. It ain't good. It's not cute. It's not good. We don't need it. If you're musically gifted, be musically gifted. Yeah. So the funniest thing was when the night was lost and everyone realized that Trump was going to win, Kate was, because they're on mic and they're reacting. And she earnestly asks, she goes like, why is he winning? And then the funniest thing was John turning to Kate, dressed as Hillary Clinton, go in a Southern accent, going, because she's a fucking bitch, Kate. She's a fucking bitch. And it was so funny, so meta. And the whole audience just lost it because he was just, in one sentence, making fun of the right conservative part of the country, how people think, like the sexist ways people think about Hillary. It was just so funny. And of course, Molly Shannon was funny at every single turn. Like she is legit someone who is never stopped being funny. She's so good. It's okay. It's like
Can we talk about the one gig I wanted to go back to that we thought was going to be our death in the disaster, and it ended up being our favorite gig of all time?
Go for it. Talk about it.
Lakewood.
I
don't think we've talked about this on the podcast before. It's one of those like, don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge a bar by its cholos kind of situation.
Exactly. Also, I just want to specify so we can set the scene. We are talking about the Lakewood suburb of LA, not the famous mythical forest of Middle Earth,
Yes.
in The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, which is home to the necromancer, who later became revealed as the Lord Sauron.
Yes, exactly.
In case people got confused whether it was like Sauron, Lord of the Rings Lakewood, or LA Lakewood.
Or Cholo Lakewood.
Right.
Yeah, so we were booked at this bar show in Lakewood, and we went.
Lakewood.
Like, it's like a suburb of LA.
But it's not a nice suburb.
No, it's kind of it's one of these like dead zones I feel like between LA and OC is like these like mysterious
working class,
suburbs, whatever. And we do like plenty of dive bar shows, so it wasn't like that crazy. And I don't think we were that worried until it wasn't even that we were like going to Lakewood. That wasn't the problem. It was like once we got to the bar and we realized that this was a dive bar in a strip mall where there was a Raiders game happening.
Yes, Raiders was not a good thing.
Full of cholos.
Yes.
And we literally, like, I remember we walked in and it was like we looked at each other like we were on the deck of the Titanic, and like in my mind we like grabbed each other's hands and we're like, it's been an honor to serve with you, mate, or whatever that
we just start playing violins.
Our violins, yeah.
No, but also remember, it wasn't just full of cholos, Katy. The majority of the men in there were Latino and were cholos. But in addition to cholos, they had plenty of white dudes who were like the working class pickup truck white dudes.
Worker, yeah.
And they had black dudes in there who were also like working class, like pickup driver black dudes. So no matter what demographic, it was actually quite a diverse bar.
It was, yeah.
Right? No matter what demographic, it was like the tough worker, maybe former gang member, but now like tough dad type guy. And I didn't think we were going to get jumped, but I just thought these guys are like old dads in their 40s and 50s who are not going to like us. And they're also, remember, it was guerrilla comedy. They didn't know a show was about to happen.
Yeah, they didn't know it was happening. It was a Raiders game was finishing up. And the best part, and shout out to Ricky Macias, this was his show. They are also like, was no stage. And so they were setting up the mic, which there was barely a mic, between the two pool tables where there were active pool games.
Right.
And we were supposed to stand in the middle, and we were like, well, what a nightmare. This is going to be horrible. I think you and I were like I think it was me and then you, like we were the last two comics on the bill, which we were like even worse. Like it was like, it could not be any worse. And we were like, well, we're just going to have to like, this will be a bad one. We'll remember what a nightmare it was. And we ended up crushing.
Yeah.
Like the bar had like kind of like the game had ended, people had filtered out. And it was a thing too, where I remember like some white guy comic went up before us and he kind of started getting into like a tiff with some other guy because the guy was like drunk and heckling him, which like
Yes.
of course was going to happen. And he got really like defensive really quick. And so we were like, oh God, now there's going to be like a fight. Like what a nightmare.
Wait. Who got defensive? The heckler or the comic?
The comic, like the heckler
comic.
was kind of like the white guy was like immediately like, yeah, bro, like you want to go? It's like, oh my God, stop.
Well, because the white guy was on he was on the defensive before he got on stage, and that was his mistake. He didn't know to play with the heckler a little bit because that's what me and you did. Yeah. Remember, we just decided there was like a thing right before because we were waiting for a long ass time to go up. I remember. I think it was actually while they were setting up. It seemed like an eternity, and we had this sentiment. I remember sitting next to each other on the bar stools of whatever, let's just go up and who gives a fuck and let's just have fun and do whatever we want because we're gonna bomb. That's how we thought.
Yeah.
And when we went up, we of course did material, but when we started to get heckled from the crowd, both of us were able to do crowd work and heckle back in a playful way where I remember both of us were able to like make fun of this. It was this like Latino dude in spandex, like right in the front.
He was like super drunk, yeah.
Super drunk, all spandex, but with basketball gear over the spandex.
It was like the workout, like bodysuit stuff that like dudes wear.
So we both of us just made fun of him, and because we clowned on him, but not too harsh. We didn't be like, "I hope your mom dies, man." Like not like that. We clowned on him like his spandex because I just was like, I mean, you're head to toe spandex. I am gonna have to make fun of you now that you interrupted me. You know?
Yeah.
His friends loved it, and we kept making their friends laugh. And of course, when everyone else's friends laugh, they either react in two ways. Either they get even more angry, or they start to laugh because they start to realize, like, oh, you know, let me be in on the joke instead of against the joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the latter happened, and then we were able to. There was other dudes who would start to talk to us, and we had like comebacks, and it was that magical thing. Remember, both of us have this.
Yeah.
Where someone would heckle and we had a retort immediately because I think we were just so in the zone, and then we were able to like go from the crowd work and playing and clowning on the hecklers back into our material. And it was such a fun set, and people liked us, and we were just like, we just felt like we had leveled up as a comic, you know?
And we were so like, I remember there was like a table of like Latinas who were like, they were like on their after work, like happy hour game or something.
Yeah.
And then I remember that we left and we were like, that was amazing. We were like so happy. And we went to a backyard show in Silver Lake, which was like all like hipster, like comic people. And then we literally were like, I wish we were back in Lakewood. Like we hated it.
Well, because the play, it was the Grotto, shout out to Terrence Newman, which is usually a good mic. But because I think we got there later, it was all the like brand new white open mic hipsters that were like at the end of the list waiting to go up. So it was just a dead mic that night where everyone was the same. There was no energy. It was just not good. You know, the Grotto was fun, but but just like any show, you need to have like a good diverse group of comics who show up, or else everyone starts to sound the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
but that always long live Lakewood. That's what I guess.
Long live Lakewood.
I wish we knew what bar that was, and then like when quarantine's done, we like go meet there. Like it's like, you know, like when Miranda meets Steve on a bridge in Sex and the City after their like fight.
And I'm crying,
just like, we'll always have Lakewood, and then we just meet there.
Miranda, I love you, Miranda. Oh, I love this. This is Steve. There's good stuff here. Not enough, Steve. Not enough. That's what it is.
Not enough, Steve. I don't know.
Miranda, sometimes you just like to die, Miranda. It's like kind of Cartman as Steve.
You do the best. It is the best Steve of all time, though. And for any straight men listening, that would be Steve from Sex and the City, but you're not listening, so whatever.
Okay, no, but me and Nike were talking about this while I was torturing him watching Sex and the City. He fucking hates the show. You have to understand, my boyfriend did not have a white friend until he was a 19-year-old freshman in Vassar. He had never been around a school with white people or a neighborhood with right. No, but your school was like a quarter, like had white kids.
He had two. Chris had two white kids in his school.
And your boyfriend. I thought you were talking about your high school.
No. I'm saying my boyfriend too. He didn't know white people.
But your high school was like half Latino, so it did have a lot of
Yeah,
Latinos.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so he didn't. He just like didn't grow up around white people. Like there were things that he was just like culture shock that he talks about being ambassadors. Like this is so fucking weird. But Sex in the City was one of those things where it's just like he just didn't watch it, you know? And then when he ended up watching it, I think because he's also a New Yorker, he's just like, what the fuck is this stupid shit? It's just like not his New York in any way. But we were just talking about how the further we get away from Sex in the City as Gen Xers, because you're an older Gen Xer, I mean, sorry, millennials. As
Millennial.
I'm
How
sorry,
could
as
you?
I'm scrambling. You know, my
I
brain
know.
goes a million miles. As millennials, you're an older millennial. I'm a younger millennial. Um, but because we're like far from the like Gen X generation of like Sarah Jessica Parker, like people, and I'm really referring to the Gen Xers who were teens in the 80s. That's
Yeah.
really the Gen Xers I'm talking about. The like white upper middle class life that they live in Sex in the City of like going to like Williams and Sonoma and picking out like a brand new cheese grater and china bowls. It's just kind of like they seem like they're living lives of 60-year-old people.
I
You
feel
know
like
what I
even the
mean?
people who live those lives didn't live those lives. Like it's a very insane.
But I
I'll love it till I die, but it's insane.
but yeah, but I actually think it's because in older generations you had people that could obtain more job security even if they didn't have super high power jobs like a Carrie, right? Um, but in the millennial generation, we're all like gig economy type people, customer service type people, and if you're not, and you're like a richer millennial, you usually work in only a few industries. You work in tech or some type of startup. You work in the business realm, corporate, or you have a really good showbiz job, or you're like in law. Besides those industries, you really don't earn that much money. Even the medical industry now, doctors and nurses, you actually don't even earn that much money anymore.
I know.
So many millennials who are like have great professions like teachers and nurses and people who I feel like would be living a better life in like the 90s now are struggling or having to like have a side business or whatever. So this like fantasy life of Sex in the City just seems so foreign and old fashioned, and it like kind of seems ridiculous.
And it is funny, like imagine, I mean, I'm sure somebody's like done this before, but I'm like, if they were millennials, like Carrie would be writing for Vice until it shuttered, and then she would write for BuzzFeed, and then Miranda could never do anything because she'd be like, I'm in debt from law school. Like she'd be like freaking out.
Yeah.
And then like Samantha would not be in PR. She would be fucking a dude who is like in PR. Like, you know what I mean? Like anytime they came over, she'd be like, oh yeah, it's just my much older boyfriend's house, you know?
Right.
And like Charlotte would be, I don't even know. She'd have
An
an art blog.
influencer. She'd be an influencer because she grew up rich, remember?
Yeah. She married well as well.
She married well as well. Yeah. And then of course, Nike hates that she's a rich girl who works in a gallery. He's like, that's the oldest New York white girl rich trope is some like rich girl or working in a gallery who pays her, $10 an hour. But of course, she has a trust fund, so it doesn't matter what she makes,
Yeah. I do love though that I will say the last thing about, I mean, I love so many things about the show, but I love the episode where a celebrity comes into Charlotte's gallery and he's so dumb and hot that he like thinks the fire extinguisher is a piece. And he's like staring at it and he's like, just means so much. And she's like, it's an actual fire extinguisher. And then she goes and like parties with him for an afternoon. And that's what I always saw for my life. But I guess we have to wait for that.
Well, you have gone out with some dumb guys.
That is you're so right.
It's just your fault for never taking them to an art gallery.
That is true. Oh my God.
Well,
any final thoughts on the life, Sex and the City, anything?
Look,
for this week?
Lakewood is better than Sex and the City. I'll say it.
Yeah, long live Lakewood.
Long live Lakewood.
Forget Cosmos, honey. I'll go for a Corona any day.
Long live Lakewood and the Misty Mountains, of course.
Was that your Drew Barrymore?
No, this is my nerd voice, who is very into Middle Earth and Lord of the Rings. I would have to say my favorite region of the Middle Earth realm is the Misty Mountains because of its vast ancient lore in the Tolkien verse. That's my That's my nerd voice.
And that's our pull clip for this week. You guys have been great. Hey, listen, if you want to book Jonathan for a nasty Zoom show, a private nasty Zoom show, he'll do it.
Look, here's the thing. I may not talk about sex at all. I sometimes do just clean material about what old movie that I was watching, but I don't like to be restricted. Sometimes I do want to talk about my butt, and I should be able to.
Because that's America.
That's America.
That's my America.
Where gay comics can talk about their butt whenever they want. Honestly, yes, that's a good America.
And I like good American jeans. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, guys.
We love you. Katy, do you have anything to plug? Where are you gonna be?
I will be in the forests of Northern California. You guys can follow me there. And I will be hopefully getting more cat skeletons. We'll see.
If you became someone who collected skeletons, I would fully support you, and I would start to give you skeletons.
There's a shop in Burbank. Hope it lasts. It's like a witch shop, and they sell a lot of different bones, and you can buy literally like jaw bones of possums. You can buy like sloth skeletons. I don't know. I literally asked the girl, "Where do you get this?" And she said, "We have a bone dealer."
Ooh, I hope they're getting bones that are just so old or they died of natural causes.
They actually sell human bones there. One time they sold a child's rib cage. And I was like, honey, it's not even my birthday yet.
Oh, God. And on that note.
Anyway, she said it has to be older than 100 years old, and it had to have been, they had to have died naturally.
That's great.
To have a bone. So anyways, guys, keep your bones clean, and we will see you next week. Until next time.
Bye. Bye. I'll be scrubbing my bones.
Oh my God. Okay.